So we've gone over prisms and we've gone over cylinders so far. Now let's take a look at their counterparts, which are pyramids and cones. Now there's a relationship between pyramids and prisms if they have the same base, which is a pyramid is always going to be 1/3 the volume of a prism, and a prism is going to be 3 times the volume of a pyramid. That's very, very important to remember. So for this prism here, we have volume is equal to base times height, where the base is actually the area of the bottom base of the figure, which is going to be length times width, or in other words, base times height again, but little b times height. So our length is 7 and our width is 5. So we get 35 centimeters squared for this base area down here. Now, we're just going to plug in that base, which is 35, and we're going to multiply it by our height, which is 10. So 35 times 10 is 350 centimeters cubed. This would be the area of this rectangular prism. Now, once again, a pyramid is 1/3 times that amount. So of course, I could just 1/3 this, but I'm going to show you how I'm using the formula. Volume is either equal to 1/3 capital B times the height. We already know that capital B is going to be the area of that base there, which we already calculated earlier, so that's 35. And we're going to multiply it by our height, which is again 10. Now, I could try to see if I could take 1/3 of anything, but nothing is going to go, 3 doesn't go into 35 evenly, and 3 doesn't go into 10 evenly. So let me just multiply these two first and see what happens. So 35 times 10 is going to be equal to 350. And then at this point, we're just dividing by 3. We're multiplying by 1/3, but essentially we're just dividing by 3. So 350 divided by 3 is 116.67, and I'm just going to go ahead and round it at 7 because it's going to be 66666 on forever. And then centimeters cubed. So as you can see, if we multiply this by 3, we're going to get 350. So the volume of a pyramid is 1/3 the volume of the prism if they have the same base. Now, let's take a look at these triangles, triangular prism and a triangular pyramid. As you can see, our bases are still the same. This is a right triangle, so my height will be here, and my base of the triangle will be here, but the overall height of the prism is actually here. That's 3. Okay? Let me actually get that out of the way. So volume is equal to base times height. So our area is going to be equal to the area of a triangle, which is half the base times the height. So we have half of our base, which in this case is 4, and then our height in this case is going to be 11. Alright, so I could take half of one of these, so I'm going to take half of 4. So we have 2 multiplied by 11 gives us 22 inches squared. Alright, and that's the area of this triangle here. Now let's just plug in our base. So 22 multiplied by 3 is going to give us 66, and the answer is going to be 66 inches cubed for this triangular prism. Now once we get to the triangular pyramid, we're using that 1/3 formula. So it's 1/3 the base times the height. So 1/3, we already know our base is going to be 22, so we don't have to recalculate that. 22, and our height is going to be 3 still. So I could take 1/3 of 3. 1/3 of 3 is just 1, so 1 times 22. So my answer is going to be 22 inches cubed as the volume of this pyramid. Alright, so we're essentially doing the same thing for the prism. The only thing that's different is that at the very end, we're just going to multiply by 1/3, or in other words, divide by 3. Let's take a look at the last example. This works for cones as well. Alright, so volume is equal to base times height. We need to figure out our base area. So area is equal to pi r squared. So our r value is going to be 3. So we have 3 squared times pi. So we have 9 pi. I'm going to hold pi here until we evaluate it at the very end. It'll just make the math a little easier. So 9 pi multiplied by our height is 2. I could do 2 times 9, 9 times 2, which is 18, so we have 18 pi. Now, 18 pi is going to give us 56.52 units cubed, right? And this should have been units squared. All right, so our answer is going to be 56.52 units cubed for this particular cylinder. Now, same thing as the prisms and the pyramids, a cone is going to be 1/3 the volume of a cylinder if they have the same base, which in this case they do. They have a base with a radius of 3. So once again, our volume is going to be equal to our base times height. I already calculated the area of the base, so I'm just going to keep that there. So 9 pi, once again, multiplied by our height, which is 2. And this is, of course, going to be 1/3. 1/3. There we go. Okay, so what I can do is I could do 1/3 of 18 actually, 18 pi. All I did was multiply 9 times 2 and kept everything else. Now, this is nice because I could take 1/3 of 18. 1/3 of 18 is 6. So now I have 6 pi. So 6 multiplied by 3.14 is going to go ahead and give us a value of 18.84 units cubed. All right, which is going to be 1/3 of this. All right, so remember, a cylinder is 3 times the value of a cone, and a cone is 1/3 times the volume of a cylinder. Now, I could have, of course, just taken this number at the beginning and then just divided by 3 and knew my answer, but I just wanted to show you the steps in the process. Remember, for each problem, you should be writing your formulas and replacing it. I know it seems like a lot of work, but we're doing it for a reason. It's going to help you later on with algebra and knowing how to manipulate and substitute for numbers. But that's it for today.